Hi everyone. Today's session is about should you exaggerate in your MBA application? This is a question asked many times, and many applicants are tempted to exaggerate in their MBA profiles and applications, but are also scared, to get caught in a lie. So, what is the balance that they should strike, or should they even exaggerate? So, let's begin. Do you have to say anything before we shoot questions your way?
A lot of times people believe that we should fake it till you make it. There's a popular saying which says fake it till you make it. But again, you should always know where to draw a line, because at the end of the day, ethics are very important, and you should know what, I mean, of course, not only ethics, there are safeguards and places by which admission committee can evaluate whether you are saying the right thing, or they can verify.
Yeah, so let's begin with that question is only what is exaggeration according to you?
Okay, what is exaggeration? So the little definition of exaggeration is going overboard and talking about things which you have potentially not done. Let's talk about places where people exaggerate, right? So the first place where people exaggerate are extracurriculars. That's the most obvious place where people exaggerate, because they feel that extracurricular is something the admission committee will not verify, and people at times are not confident about their extracurriculars also. I mean, they believe that whatever
Yeah.
they have done is not meritorious enough to be put in the application form. Second place where people exaggerate are around their professional experiences, right? So, for example, they might not have done certain thing in their profession or in their career, but they claim to have done that. So that's another place where
Yeah.
people exaggerate. A lot of times, students or applicants try to collude with their recommenders and encourage the recommenders to write something about the applicant which ideally he has not done, right? In all these three places where you collude with your recommender and ask him to write stuff which you haven't actually done, right? So these are
Yeah.
typically three places where people exaggerate. What is not an exaggeration according to me, and is something which I mean, ideally should, or rather can talk about, is something which probably they have seen someone else doing, or it is part of their work in their next promotion. For example, somebody is not a product manager right now, but he has worked literally in the capacity of product management. Just by the name of the tag, he is not a product manager. Then he can claim, right? So not necessarily claim, he can talk about the responsibility he has done, and those responsibilities should ideally reflect the fact that he has taken up the work of a product manager.
So is there anything called a white lie?
Yeah, so that's again a good question. White lie is, so there is lies definitely is not white. It's always, lies are always black. But again, so there is nothing called white lie. It's just that, like, you should not mention things which are absolutely you haven't done. For example, if you have, like, let's say you are a programmer and most of your time you're spent in developing code, suddenly to impress that mission committee, you start saying that, hey guys, I have also done BD. I have also, like, talked with clients, and I have told these clients, I have pitched solutions to clients and cross sell and upsells and things. So those are things, ideally
Yeah.
those are lies we should not claim, because you are a programmer, right? So you can, what you can say and say that my impact of something, let's say for example, if written a program and though that program has ideally impacted 100 people, you can claim that it has the potential to impact 1,000 people or 10,000 people or a million people. That's okay. But saying something which
Yeah.
is completely different from your field, a programmer claiming that I have done something which is, I have done like 1 million or $500,000 of business for the client, that is something which you should refrain from doing.
Yeah, that's definitely something we should not lie about. So lots of people say, like you have also mentioned, fake it till you make it. So do you think it is a reliable strategy for anyone to follow?
No, I mean, you should know that, again, you should know, even if you are faking something, you should know if you've done your homework, right? So I have, like, worked with an
Yeah.
applicant. So he told me in his essays, he had mentioned that he had taken a break from his professional life to do prepare for the GMAT. He wanted to get that magic 730, 750 number. So was preparing the entire 12 months for GMAT. He had a friend who was running his startup, right? And that startup was solving a problem in the consumer space, doing something, right? So he said, instead
Yeah.
of like instead of mentioning that I have not done anything, or like I've spent 12 months not doing anything, I would rather say that I've worked in that startup and done something related to that startup, right? So, which is, from an admission committee's perspective, it was okay because he had the background proof for it. Like, his friend gave him a salary slip, his friend gave him some recommendation. So all of that proof he had. However, in the interview, he got caught. because in the interview they asked him something very specific to that startup, the problem the startup was solving, which he did not know enough because he had not done in-depth analysis of it or in-depth research about the problem the his friend was solving for his startup. So even if you're faking it, I would say, yeah, I mean, of course, I will never recommend you to fake. But then even if you are doing
Yes.
it, you should do your homework. Right? If you're whatever you're doing, you should be prepared to ask to answer anything. You should do your homework and you should know the in and outs of things which you even fake,
Yeah.
so that you are prepared for any sort of an answer when it comes to the interview.
Okay, so even then, applicants are exaggerating in their MBA applications. So, do the colleges actually spend their resources in verifying the details of their application?
So yeah, so that's a good question. So there are certain tangible components of an application which the college do spend resources, of course, third-party resources, outsourced resources to verify. For example, your GPA, right? So if you have mentioned something in the GPA which is not appropriate, that's something which the college would definitely verify. Whether if you not mention that if you have any backlogs, that's something also the admission committee would
Yeah,
verify. If you have mentioned that your years of experience is also something our admission committee would verify. But things like extracurriculars, for example, if you mentioned that you conducted speaker sessions internally within your group in your organization. For example, stuff like you said that you run a WhatsApp group where you give people tips around how to do make better positions in the stock market or take better
yeah,
stock picking. So that's also something people will not verify because there's no way to verify them. Something which is quantifiable, something which is available through a by doing some research, and those are something which people will verify. Other things people will not verify quantifiably. But of course, in an interview, people will ask you a question which, let's say example, you've mentioned that hey, you give run a WhatsApp group and where you give stock picking tips to people. Right, so you tell them every day that
yeah,
hey, this stock you should buy right now, you should buy, or you also give some strategies on FNO, futures and options. But if that's something like if the interviewer also knows about it, also knows about stocks, and also knows about FNO, right? So he will ask you a question, he or she will ask you a question, and at that point of time, if you have not done it, actually, you will
yeah,
land up in a soup, right? So that's again something. It's a two-way sword. You will definitely get eyeballs as compared to somebody who says that I have a very routine life, going to office, working on stuff which my organization has told me, and coming back home. So compared to that, you will get eyeballs, but at the same point of time, it might backfire if you don't know the ins and outs of it. But having said that, these are stuff which admission committees will not be able to verify. But your academic
yeah.
scores, your GMAT score, your number of years of experience, your position you've been working on, in these are things which they verify through certain sources.
So, since you have already answered, what are the typical sections where students are very much tempted to exaggerate? Is there anything else that you would add to it?
No, yeah, just repeat extracurriculars, professional experiences, and your recommendation, colluding with the recommender and asking him to write something which he probably, I mean, which is an exaggeration of your actual work. These are pretty much the spaces which I have, like, actually got applicants who have told me, can I do that? Can I mention something here? Can I mention something there?
Yeah,
So typically, people don't go and change a certificate. If your academic scores are 8.4, people will not go and forge a different academic score, right? So forging, like those things
yeah.
people typically don't do. But yeah, it's something which is intangible and not quantifiable is something people definitely do in terms of exaggeration.
So, is there a way a student could find a way out of exaggeration?
So I think what people should, instead of exaggerating, I would say people should or students should look at the bigger picture, right? So you should, like, for example, even if you are, let's say you are working in the field of operations and you are running ops, you're making sure deliveries happen on time, right? So if you, let's say you're working as an operations manager or an operation executive at Swiggy, and you make sure deliveries happen on time. So instead of just saying that I make sure deliveries happen on time, you should look and you should mention things as to the bigger picture. For example, why are you doing it? Right? You can say that, hey, because I believe that every person needs to, I mean, if he has ordered food, he needs to get food on time. So these are things, these are my motivations because of which I do what I do. So think about a bigger picture. Don't just narrow down to what you do. Like don't just narrow down to your job
Yeah.
responsibilities, but rather focus on the bigger picture of how you are contributing. So if you are able to come to that level, or if you're able to portray that in your application, admission companies will really appreciate. They will not consider it as a fake. They'll not consider it as an exaggeration. They will only consider the fact that this guy has the potential to think big, right? So think
Okay.
of the why. So typically when we are in our jobs or our professionals, we only think about the what and the how, right? Rather you should think about the why are we doing it, right? So you should always
Yes.
ask things, why are you doing it? If you have an answer to that why, it automatically will help you make a better impression in front of the admission committee.
It's basically like we should know where to draw the line between exaggeration, truth, and lie, because at the end of the day, it's not going to help you.
Yeah, it's not going to help you at all. Like, it's not going to help you at all because, see, apart from the fact that, it can be verified, and somebody can verify and say that this, or can claim, and you can be blacklisted as well. Like, if things go hayward, you can be
Oh,
blacklisted, and if people find out that you faked about something even after you complete your graduation, it can potentially create a red flag in terms of your professional career as well. Because word spreads, right? It's not like it will not
yeah.
stay limited. Word spreads, so it's always better to be honest, transparent. At the same point of time, you can obviously showcase that you've been part of a bigger picture. So creating impact, even if you've created a small scale, but you have the potential to create an impact large scale, that's something you should definitely portray in an application.
Thank you for joining us, Arijit. This has been great. I think the audience had learned so much from you, and I think at the end of the day, being honest is the best thing for an MBA applicant or any applicant for that matter.
Yeah, otherwise you don't know how many lies you have to tell in the future to cover up just one lie, right? So just the process
Yeah,
doesn't end here. So if you say you've done something, if you've actually not done that, so you have to keep on saying lies after lies to kind of cover up your previous life. It's a never-ending circle.
yeah,
But yes, like the takeaway which I want the people, whoever is watching this video now or in future, the takeaway is think of the bigger picture, think of the impact you've been able to create, not focus on doing multiple things or showcasing multiple things, but rather showing the why behind the what's in the house, right? On even
yeah,
if you are fake, if you are tempted to fake, right, I would not recommend, but do definitely do your homework. Ask questions. Imagine, do a role play that, hey, if I was the interviewer, if somebody had mentioned this, what would I have asked him back? What sort of questions I would have asked him back? So try to do that role play. Try to think about questions which you would be asking yourself if you were on the other side of the table. And then yeah, try to like have as many fail, like assume that you are trying to game the system. A lot of times what companies do, companies employ hackers so that they can hack into the company system and figure out the loopholes, right? Similarly, if you are trying to fake
okay,
anything, you should like have that hacker approach and see that how could you have caught somebody else's lie, right? So you become an interviewer
yeah,
for yourself and draft as many questions for yourself. And if you, at the end of the day, if you feel that you have a justifiable answer to each of these questions, a logical and justifiable answer to these questions, then yes, whatever you have said, you are like pretty much there or prepared. You will never be always prepared, but you are still like 90% prepared.
yeah. So you might get away with it.
You might get away with it. Yeah, with luck on your side, you might get away with it. And in
Yeah,
most cases, there is a room for, there's a borderline, there is some benefit of doubt, which admission committees also give to students. They also know that, hey, probably these guys have not got the opportunity to do as many things as he's claiming. But yes, he's thinking logically, he has the potential or she has the potential to do them in future. So, I mean, that benefit of doubt admission committees are, do give.
okay, so thank you for joining us. It has been great, Arijit, to have you here. It was so insightful.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you everyone. It
Bye.
was really nice interacting and getting to the questions. I think these are all relevant questions which people have posted. And I think all of them are relevant questions. And yeah, we are happy. We are here always here to talk with applicants, future prospective B school applicants, understand their backgrounds, help them craft these essays, and yeah, of course, help them go the righteous path. Right at the end of the day, the honest and righteous path.
Yeah, you can also send us your profile for evaluation. We evaluate profiles for free. And text us anytime if you have any queries or any question that you want to ask us. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Bye bye, guys. Have a good day. Take care.